In this video, we are going to understand what are layers and masks in Photoshop 2024 and how to use them. Hello photographer, welcome back to my channel. For the ones that doesn't know me yet, my name is Silvia. I'm a specialist in the magazine style of maternity photography. In this channel, I talk about professional editing techniques to help you make more money with your photos. Now, let's get into the video. One of the biggest difference between Lightroom and Photoshop are the layers. This is one of the things that makes Photoshop a way better and more advanced program to retouch your photos than Lightroom. If you are starting to learn Photoshop, it is essential that you understand the layers and mask concept. Don't worry about it though, because it is not that complicated. So let's start talking about layers. Layers is exactly what the name already says. If you think about a tall cake, most of them will be created with layers. So we have the cake layer, and then we have the filling, and then we have the cake layer, and then we have a filling, and then we have a cake layer, and then we have something that you can put on top. This is exactly how Photoshop works. When you open your photo in Photoshop, you have your first layer created. Normally, it comes with the name of background, and it comes also with this lock. This lock is preventing you to change things on the background, but that's okay. So from here, you can add as many layers on top of this layer as you want. So for example, I'm going to create a new layer on top of my background layer. So if I go into this icon here, that's a square with a plus sign, I'm gonna create a new layer. So this layer now is on top of my background layer, but there's nothing in this layer yet. So I'm gonna create here, I'm gonna make a selection of a square or whatever, and I'm gonna choose a color here, and I'm gonna paint this square. I'm gonna undo the selection, but because this layer is on top of my background layer, I'm being able to see the square and also a little bit of the layer on the bottom. So if I stop visualizing this layer here, if you notice there is this eye icon here, that means that you can view or stop visualizing the layer. So I'm gonna click this eye here, and now I'm not visualizing the layer 1 anymore, and what I'm seeing now is the background layer. But now if I click again here, I'm gonna go back and visualize the layer 1 and the layer 2. So my layer 1 is on top of my background layer. If I stop visualizing the background layer, now I can only see the layer 1, and I'm not being able to visualize the background anymore. Let me go back here. So the way that Photoshop works is you creating layers on top of layers. And why is that so important? Because you can be way more precise when you're trying to retouch your photos. You can create many layers, and I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. So let's say that I don't want this blue square here, so I just deleted the layer, and now I'm gonna duplicate my background layer. I don't like to use the background layer to retouch my photos. I normally let the background to be right here, and I don't touch the background because it would be the original photo, and if I want to go back some editing, something that I did wrong or whatever, I have my background layer that it's untouched. Or also, if I want to compare how far I'm going with my editing in my photo, I still have the original version of the photo, so I can compare if I'm going too far or not. So what I like to do when I'm working on photos is to first thing is duplicating my layer. So I'm gonna press Command J in my keyboard, and now I created a layer 1 again. But this layer 1 is exactly the same layer as the background. So if I stop visualizing the layer 1, I'm gonna see the background layer. However, it is the same image, so there's no difference between the layer 1 and the background layer. But let's say that I wanna tweak her body a little bit. So I'm gonna go to Filter, and I'm gonna click Liquify. So what this tool does is pretty much to shape your photo. Right now, let's say that I want her to have a little bit bigger belly, so I can make a little bit bigger. Let's say that I want to make her butt a little bit bigger as well. I'm just doing whatever just so we can see the difference. Let's say that I want to adjust a little bit more of the hair, want to make it bigger. So let's say that this is good for me. I'm satisfied with what I've done. So I'm gonna hit OK. And now we have still two layers, the background layer and the layer 1. And remember what I told you, the background layer is a layer that I like to leave unretouched so I can see how far I'm going with my editing. So if I stop visualizing the layer 1, I'm gonna see how the photo was before. Then here's before, and now it's how it's looking after I have reshaped her body. Let's say that I want to do something different with her hair. So I can just make a selection here and ask the AI to add hair, for example. Now we have some different options here of hair created by the AI. Let's stay with maybe this one. So automatically the tool created a new layer, add hair, and this layer is not applied into my layer 1. So if I stop visualizing this layer here, I still can see my photo before adding the hair. So that's what is the cool thing about the Photoshop. You can create many layers, and if you want to change something, you can just remove after, because you still have another layer that it is like a backup layer that you have. So let's say that I liked the hair, but I actually don't want this body that I reshaped. I want kind of the original body. So I can stop visualizing this layer. I can see the photo with the hair and with the body how it was before I reshaped it. Another way that we use layers is by creating effects to work on the photos. So for example, I can go here to filters and I can create a curves layer. Curves is for you to work the luminosity, sometimes the color of your photo as well. But when I click in curves, you can see that now I have a new layer. So this layer is not being applied to my photo. It's just an adjustment layer that it's being separate, so I can be tweaking every time that I want, because it's not applied straight to my photo. It is in a separate layer. So let's say that I want to make this photo a little bit lighter and more contrasting. So I have created a different luminosity here for my photo. Now let's say that I want to make another curve layers. So I can go here and create another curve layers, and I can do something different with that layer. And what is going to happen is that every time that I create a new layer, this new layer will be applied in everything that's on the bottom of that layer. So this curve will be applied to everything that's under here. So I can tweak this curve even more and try to do whatever I want with the curve. And this is something that you cannot really do on Lightroom. In Lightroom, you just have one layer. So everything that you do in the layer is already being applied to your photo. So you cannot be tweaking as much as you can in Lightroom because they don't have the layer system. So another example, let's say that I want to do something with the colors. I can create here a selective color. So it's, again, a new layer. It is not being applied straight to my photo, so that means that I can tweak later if I want. Let's say that I want to make this red a little bit more cyan. If I was doing something like this in Lightroom, this is the maximum that you can go of changing the color in your photo. However, because we are on Photoshop and I can create another layer, I could create another selective color, go to reds again, and make the reds even more cyan. So I can do this over and over again. It's something that you cannot do in Lightroom. Another thing that you're gonna notice is that the layers, they have different icons. So for example, if I go back here to my layer 1, now I'm just visualizing the layer 1, I can see that the design that I have here, the picture that I have here is my photo, is my image, right? However, when I create effects, for example, the curves, the selective color, the icon here is different from my photo, right? Because my photo layer is pixels, so I have an image right here. When I'm creating the curves, selective colors, anything that I'm creating right here, pretty much, it is not gonna be a image that has pixel. It is just gonna be an effect that it's being applied to the other layers. If I click here in the icon, if I do a double click, the property that's this window here is gonna open, and you can just be adjusting the effect that you use in your photo. Now another kind of layer that we have as well, it is this one here. So when I click here in the plus sign, I create a new layer, and this layer, it comes with nothing in the layer. If I'm only visualizing this layer, you can see that there's nothing on the layer. But let's say that I want to add something to this layer. So I'm just going to use the brush here and start painting the layer. And you're going to see that the icon now changed. It has this blue design that I just designed in the transparent layer, because in this layer I'm adding now pixels to this layer. So I'm creating an image in this see-through layer. The way that we can use a transparent layer, for example, let me just delete all of these layers. I'm gonna create a transparent layer, and let's say that I want to do some skin retouch or retouch something. I'm gonna use the spot healing brush to retouch something on her face. So I'm just gonna, for example, clean this thing here on her skin, and I'm just gonna clean a few things that I want to remove from her skin. Let's say that I want to remove this hair. And now I'm gonna clean a little bit like this line on her neck. I'm just doing something very fast here so you understand what this transparent layer can do. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. I just want to show you how you can use this transparent layer to actually use on your retouching workflow. So right now I removed a few things from her face. However, I didn't do that in the background layer, because remember, as I told you in the beginning of the video, I do like to have my background layer untouched so I can see how far I'm going with my editing. And if I need to correct something or go back to something, I still have my original layer there. So this new layer here, I'm gonna rename it and say that it was a skin retouch because I removed something on her skin. And if I stop viewing this layer, you're gonna see that everything that I removed is now back, because I'm only seeing the background layer. I'm not seeing the layer that I just created that it's on top. When I go back and to visualize the layer, I can see that everything's clean again. So this is how you can use a transparent layer, for example. You're not applying the changes in the photo, you're just creating in that new layer. And the good thing about it is because you can always go back to how it was. Let's say that I did all of this and I was retouching here and I made this huge mistake. This is the transparent layer. This is what I've created in this layer. I made a bunch of tweaks when I was cleaning her, when I was doing the skin retouch, and this was the error that I commit. So I can just erase this. And now, because it was erased, there's nothing that's gonna be on top of my background layer. And that's why I can see the earring again. So this is how we use layers. So let me delete this layer. And let's say that I did that in the background layer. So now my original photo is actually retouched, and I have this error that I did here. If I grab the eraser and I try to delete that, I'm not gonna see the earring again. I'm actually gonna see the second color that was selected here. So let's say that it was white. So if I try to erase it, I'm still gonna see the second color that I have here, and I'm not being able to go back to the earrings. And that's the cool thing about layers. And this is like the biggest difference between Lightroom and Photoshop. You cannot do things like that in Lightroom, only in Photoshop. So right now, let's say that I mess it up and I was actually working on my background layer and I wanna go back to how it was. I have this history option here. If you don't see it on your Photoshop, just go to Window and then the history is gonna be right here. And right here, it goes back to every step that you have done in your photo. So you can just go back to whatever point you want. Now let's talk about masks. So I'm gonna go back here and create a new layer. I'm gonna create curves, but let's say that I wanna bring a little bit more light to this part of the hair that's a little bit dark. So I'm just gonna go up with my curve layer. However, what's happening is that the whole effect is being applied in my entire photo, and that's not what I want. So what I'm gonna do is to work with the layer. And when you create a filter, if not 100% of them, but most of them will already come with the mask. The mask is this white rectangle that we have here. And what the mask does is pretty much masking things. So it masks everything that you do not want to show and everything that you want to show. In our case, we want some luminosity only on her hair and not in the whole photo. So the way the masks work is just having white and black, where the black is hiding the parts that you do not want to show the effect, and the white is showing where you want to add the effect. Right now, because everything is white, we are able to see the effect in the whole photo. So what I'm going to do is just to press Command I, and the mask will invert. Everything that was white, now it's going to be black. And what we are going to do to show the luminosity only on her hair is to paint where we want to show the effect. So I'm going to choose brush here, and I'm going to make it smaller. We have the opacity here. I'm going to leave 100%. I'm going to get closer to her hair, and I'm going to start painting only on her hair. And you can see that only her hair now is getting that light. And let's say that you made a mistake. You can go back again, change the color. So it was white because we are trying to show something, but now we want to hide. So we are going to select the color black, and we are just going to go in with the black. We are going to hide what we do not want to see. It got a little bit more than what I wanted. So I'm just fixing exactly where I want the effect to be applied. So that's what the mask is doing. So if I stop visualizing the layer, now the luminosity of her hair is back again. And now if I visualize the layer, I can see that the lighting is only being applied to her hair. So let's see the photo from further away. So without the lighting and with the lighting. And if you want to tweak the lighting, you just need to double click here, and you can just adjust to however you want. So here's the before and here's the after. And you can do that with everything, with every layer. So let's say that I want to change the color of the background. I'm going to go here in the filters, and I'm going to select, for example, color balance. And right here in the middle tones, I'm going to make this to be more red, more brown. And that's good. However, it's affecting my model, and I do not want to affect my model. So what I'm going to do is to mask my model, paint her in black, so I can see everything else just being applied in the background. So again, I can choose my brush here, and I want to hide her. So I need to have my black color selected, and now I'm going to start painting her. And you're going to see that she won't have that color that I applied on the background. So I'm just gonna make a rough painting here. So here's the before and here's the after, and you can see that the color is only being applied in the background. A easier way for us to create this mask, I want to show you. So I'm gonna Control A to select the whole mask here, the whole photo, and I'm gonna press delete, and I'm gonna press Command D to disappear with the selection. And now we are back with the whole layer being applied in the whole photo. Now I'm gonna select here the quick selection. It could be any of them. I'm gonna click here in the quick selection tool, and right here I have the option to select the subject. So I'm gonna click here, and automatically Photoshop will recognize what it is the subject of your photo and create a selection. So this is an easier way to create a selection. I'm gonna add this part here that's from the dress, and this is good. So now I'm gonna go here to the mask, and what you can do is to grab your brush, have a bigger brush, and just paint the selection. Or another way that you can do that, let me go back, is just by on your keyboard, you can click Command I, that is going to invert in your mask everything that it's selected. So I'm gonna press Command D, and now I'm not seeing the selection anymore. And the color balance now is only being applied to the background. And here's the before and here's the after. And you can again just double click in the effect and just adjust a little bit more what you want. Let's say that I want something more green. And you can just do whatever you want here. And now it's only changing in the background. So here's the before and here's the after. And this is how masks work. I know that Lightroom, we do have a masking system as well, but in Photoshop, you can be way more precise. And also, again, you have the layers. So I can create another layer. And let's say that I want to do some pattern in this layer. I have this image here with a bunch of leaves. I'm gonna hit OK. And let's say that I want to apply this only to the background. So I can just drag the layer that I already have of the background with the option selected in the keyboard and just dragging the mask to the new mask. You just duplicate the mask. Now I'm gonna lower the opacity because it is too strong. So I'm gonna go with the opacity to 0, and slightly I'm just gonna bring up. Now I have also another layer that's only being applied to the background, and I can click here and I can choose whatever that I selected. I can do just like a different texture, for example, this one, I feel like this one works. So with Photoshop, you have many things that you can do that Lightroom is very, very limited. And because we saved our original layer here as the background, we can see how it was looking before and how far you have gone with your retouching process. Now you know what layers and masks are for and how to use them. This is essential if you want to learn how to retouch your photos in Photoshop and to have a better and more professional photos results. Click the like button if this video was helpful for you. If you want to know other ways to improve your skills to make more money with photos, check out my latest video here on the screen. Also, subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every week. For now, this is everything. I will see you next time.